Welcome, Sylvia Brands, to the Get Up Girl podcast, live here on Facebook and right into the podcast. Girl, it is the end of the year. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, I'm getting ready for all of these 2021 vibes. Joanna, how are you doing today?
Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty good. It hit me that I was exhausted today, and I'm like,
Mm.
what is this? I went into questions like, what is this? Like, I start talking to my body. What is this exhaustion? I got enough sleep, and what I was aware of, Sylvia, is that just in the earth, everywhere, people are just exhausted, and I'm like, oh, okay. Got
Mhm.
it. It is just time to pause. So that's where I am. And I wonder if anybody else listening to this in real time is in the same boat,
I
where
feel
they're
that.
just like tired and exhausted.
I feel that. I totally agree. I think that I am ready to, again, when your listeners listen to this, it is a couple days prior to Christmas. And I am very much in the space of, I just need to chill. I need to relax. I need to take a break. So, yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. But I also think that there's a lot of cosmic energy at work. I think that there is a lot of, because we're going to bring in a new year. So I think that there's a lot of waves coming in right now that our body is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We
Yeah.
need to break and restore before we take in all of that.
Yes, Sylvia, we are energetic beings. We are like
Absolutely.
a radio signal, and we're
Totally.
picking up things all over the place. When you walk into a room, Sylvia, and you can just feel the energy of people. Nobody has to say anything. And just matter of fact, last night I saw a friend, and the first thing I was like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But something was off, you know?
Mm.
And again, he kept saying, "I'm fine, I'm fine." I'm like, nothing is anything's wrong. It was just off. And I'm like, I can't explain it. You just seemed different. So with that as an example is like you said, it's the end of the year. The pandemic is coming to a close. We're getting in the United States, getting a new president. I mean, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot. And so it's giving myself grace,
Mhm.
going, okay, because I wanted to beat myself down for feeling tired today. I'm like,
Totally.
oh my God, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about that, Sylvia, because you are a life coach and, you know, with your clients,
Mhm.
helping them, have you noticed, and I know you're expecting right now too, so I can only imagine, right, to add that to the formula. But with your clients, and have you noticed that they are feeling or aware that they're kind of like, I need a break, like you said,
Yes.
pandemic, end of the year, let's start over. What are you aware of there with your clients?
So I'm super aware. And it's so funny that you bring this up because in my Elevate Her program, we literally had a conversation about this last week. Joanna, collectively as a whole, I think what we're all feeling is that all of us have had to become super adaptable. We've had to adapt so many times since mid-February, March, right? We have had to adapt to, oh my gosh, there's this thing happening. I need to work from home. Oh my gosh, things when I go to the grocery store are normally there. They're now sold out. And I have to, I have to adapt to my patience level. I order things from Amazon or I order things from USPS and they come in the mail regularly for me. I have to adapt on the fact that things aren't coming to me as quickly. And here in the US, we are very 2-day Amazon primers. We,
What?
we
This is not gonna come till January 5th? I know that's right now on Amazon.
exactly.
Girl.
We are, I want it here, I want it now. Because that's just our society. That's how we've been accustomed to be. That's how we've been conditioned to be.
Conditioned.
And we have just become so adaptable to all of these different spaces. Think about, all of the social climate situations that have happened with, big political things, with a new president, with a new direction, with all of these different things that have happened. And we have had to become super self-aware with our own feelings, our own brains, because we're with that. And it's been heightened because we're at home. And then also just adapting to so many things. So if you think about it, as human beings, we've just taken so many leaps and bounds that now we're at the end and our shoulders are kind of like,
Right?
we've been running. We have been running this whole year to adapt, to change, to support, to understand so many different situations that I can totally tell that we're exhausted. We're mentally spent. And right now, I can totally tell that so many of us just need that restorative space.
Restorative. Mm-hmm.
But instead, because it's the holidays right now, we're thinking, oh, no, I can't. I can't tap out yet. I can't
Not
do it.
yet.
And we want to get mad at ourselves. We want to beat ourselves up because we're saying, no, I still have to show up. I still have to adapt one more time. Instead of just accepting, showing ourselves grace, and being like, this Christmas can look a little different
Different.
because I've shown up all year long.
Can it look different? And what else is possible for holidays, for our families, for ourselves that we couldn't imagine, that we couldn't
Totally.
see before? I really enjoyed how you said, Sylvia, this whole year has been adapting. I never saw it that way. It's like I'm to the right, now I'm to the left, now I'm up, now I'm down. And while I was in it, I'm like, I'm good. I'm actually pretty good. I'm like more resilient than I thought. At the end of the marathon, now I'm looking back at all the 26 miles and I'm like, damn,
Mm-hmm.
I am ready to sit down. I can see the finish line. And I'm like, ugh. Some people are ready to go through the finish line or excited. It's interesting where I'm like, oh, I want to push back the finish line a little bit. You know, that New Year's where I see people that are excited for it. What would you tell someone that's like thinking as I am? Like, man, yeah, but I can't, Sylvia. I got to show up or I
Yeah.
choose to show up. And I'm going to restart on January 1. What would you tell her?
I would say use that as ammo. Take a moment to reflect on all of the past 26 miles that you just ran
Yeah.
and ball it up and make it this big old ball of fire and use it as ammo to be like, wow, look at all of the things I've done, and kind of make it your slam dunk of look at who I have become this year, and just marinate in that. Marinate in that, because that's the thing. We don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't say to ourselves enough, wow, look at all of the things you have done, and just celebrate within it, relish in it. We don't do that enough. We're always like, oh, yeah. What's next, right? We're always just continuously going to that finish line. So instead, take a break. Grab some water on the side of that marathon sideline
Mm-hmm.
and be like, wow,
Watch
sis.
everybody run by.
Watch everybody run by and be like, wow, sis, look at what you have done in these past 26 miles. In the last 9 months, look at what you've done. And use it as ammo to be like, I'm going to restore, I'm going to relish, and I'm going to realign. And then when you do that, use it as ammo to pop into 2021 and be like, all right, here we go.
Marinate.
Mm-hmm.
Marinate. What I was thinking, Sylvia, was to pause after Christmas, this last week, and
Totally.
reflect and think about 2021. And it just hit me. I'm like, JoJo, you're looking forward. And like you said, bring all the 26 miles together and marinate in that.
Mm-hmm.
I was in my mastermind the other day, and I think consciously myself, like I celebrate. And I'm like, no, you don't. I had a girlfriend call me out. She's like, you don't celebrate anything, Joanna. I'm like, I don't. It was like, I was so unaware that I was on to the next, on to the next. And it was like, damn. Okay,
Yeah.
without the punishment of myself for not celebrating, but more of the awareness, more of the like,
Mm.
huh, that is interesting. That energy of the, what is that about?
Yeah.
And what came as soon as she said that, and I really got curious, like I really got like, the energy of the curiosity, tears welled up. And it was like
Mm,
this release tears. It wasn't a boohoo. It was like a, and my body got warm and hot when that
mm,
happened. It was a very different cry than I had been used to. And what I received from that was, you don't.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, somebody else that's thinking out there, Sylvia, but I do celebrate. I do give myself time, as that was so unconscious to it.
Totally.
How can you help wake me up or somebody that's listening out there that,
Okay. And I love that you bring this up, Joanna, because I'm going to use you as an example. So, because I follow you on Instagram, you're so great to listen to, and you are very vulnerable and transparent about what happens within your daily life. And I love that. But one of the things is that we say, like, oh yeah, like I do celebrate myself. But we tend to only celebrate the big highlight reel that is Instagram, right? We tend to only celebrate, wow, I made this big mark within my business. I made this big transaction with this person. I had this huge event with other people, slay gals, that was such a win, blah, 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 blah. But we don't take the time to look underneath
Mm,
and even say, and this is Joanna example, wow, in the past 3 months, I have really enjoyed waking up with the sun. I have loved waking up with the sun. And that in itself has been something that, my mindset has needed. I have benefited from that because it made my brain happy, which made my body happy. Joanna, look at how many books you've read this year.
mhm.
How many times you've put yourself in a mastermind or in a course to get poured into so that you're the one being the student and actively learning.
Yeah.
That is a celebration. Anytime you get a haircut, wow, this is an opportunity for reinvention. I am reinventing myself every single time I get a haircut, or I get a trim, or I color my hair differently. Those are the things that require celebration too, not just the big, pivotal, celebratory things.
I never saw it that way. Because I'm still, even though it's like I heard it differently right now. Sometimes when you can hear it something 400,000 times, but the 401th, it's like, oh, it sounded different. That one sounded different for me. I received it differently right there. Because you're right. I look at the bigger things and
Yeah.
go, okay. And when my girlfriend was telling me that, I took it on as I'm not looking at this. I'm not celebrating the big things. And how you said
Mm.
it's the celebration of all the things and the reinventing. I wrote that down. You know what, Sylvia? Every day I ask a friend or, a partner, whoever is in my life at that moment, what was your favorite moment of today? That's like my thing, and every day, like, what's my favorite moment? And I enjoy it, Sylvia, because when I ask that person, I'm so present. I'm just listening, right?
Mm.
And then he or she will ask me back, well, what's your favorite moment? And then I stop and think, and they always say, don't you already have it ready? Meaning, like, you asked me, wouldn't you have it ready? Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I wanted you to ask me, and then I want to really reflect. And if it takes
Mhm.
me 5 minutes, you're going to sit there and just like, as I go through my day. And I'm noticing that I would like to shift that as you were talking to, like, what am I proud of?
Yeah.
What am I celebrating today?
Oh, there you go. What are you celebrating today?
Yeah, and that has a different energy for me rather than what was my favorite moment.
Mm.
Because for me, the favorite moment is a little more, let's go back to what we were just talking about, how, it's a little more look at me,
Mhm.
egotistical, rather than like, what am I celebrating? It's a
Mhm.
different energy.
Yeah.
And just, I think by switching those words, that was a pivotal thing for me. And I think I'm going to enjoy it a little bit more instead of like, what's the favorite moment? It's a little mechanical right
Yeah.
now. So I thank you for that. Wow.
No, awesome. Amazing. I love it. I love it. I'm so excited.
Well, Sylvia, what are you excited for in the new year or the new start, so to speak? Because I just heard a, it was like a research, when they do those surveys or whatever, but resolutions for 2021 and making plans and goals are up 35% this year because of the pandemic.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Everybody's like, oh, getting on the planner bandwagon and et cetera. Right. It's like the
Yeah.
cool thing to do. And everybody's thinking about, exactly what we're talking about right now. So with that, without the cliche, but like the new start, the kind of the looking back and forward, what is getting you excited and celebrating moving forward? Besides
Totally.
the baby, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
not that it's a small thing, but
Totally. No, and that's so great that you bring that up, Joanna. And I was so excited that we had this interview planned because I was like, ooh, I hope we talk about the new year because it's something that I'm passionate about. And I have always been an anti new year, new me.
mm,
I have always ridden hard against that because I have always said, no, boo, like it's not a new you, it's the way you choose to continue to
ooh,
derive.
New Year, choose you.
Yeah, and that's it. As a matter of fact, that's what my new slogan is for the month is new year, more me. Because I'm
Mm.
like, no, babe, you're still the same. It's just how do you choose to grow yourself from this point forward? And I know that right now is the time of goals and resolutions and intentions and all of these things. And to the point where people get goal drunk, Jojo, like
Gold drunk.
goal drunk.
What does that look like to you? What's gold drunk?
Goal drunk is the person who, and again, if you're this person and it works for you, good job, boo. Keep doing your thing. But goal drunk tends to be the person who makes a ton of goals. They're like, I'm gonna lose weight, I'm gonna go to the gym every day, I'm gonna cycle 5 miles, I'm gonna not eat anything bad ever. I'm gonna real crazy intense goals, which is fine without
The
the
people,
breakdown. Yeah.
ooh, without the habits, without the shift.
Yeah.
Girl,
Without the system, right?
system.
And so it's like, you want to get there, boo, but what car are you taking? And
Mhm.
so people forget the vehicle portion. How am I going to get to this specific space? And so one of the biggest things that I like to tell people, and y'all keep on the lookout because I'm going to do a vision board workshop and I would love to have y'all come. But my question to people is, who are you becoming? Who are you becoming? Because as we've realized it is a big old lie when they say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because we don't become just one thing. Or if you do become the financial assistant or the boss or the whatever, you start to realize, oh, I kind of want to be a CEO of this, or I kind of want to make my own product, or oh, what if I built this community online? Or what if I become a New York Times bestseller? We do not become just one thing. Look at me right now. I'm a speech therapist. I'm a life and mindset coach. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. We are not just one job role and function. So you need to start asking yourself, who is it that I'm becoming? Who would I like to become?
Mhm.
And when you look at it as a more, okay, this is the direction I'm going in, what are the things that are going to happen as I go through in that space? What are the goals that might happen while I take that path? And then create your intentions based on that.
Almost like reverse engineering.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And biggest recommendation, if you're looking to get something, your ass into gear, please read Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Got it right here, girl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that we need to look at it from a reverse point of view because you need to break it down. How am I going to get here? And really, really get clear. I know a lot of people who are like, oh, I have an idea of what I want to do, but I don't need to write it down, or I don't need to make a vision board because like I have it all up here. Humans think 1,000 thoughts a day, more than that.
Mm-hmm.
You are not holding yourself accountable or getting clear with anything if you're not writing it down, if you're not even putting it on a post-it, or if you're not even using a dry erase marker on your bathroom mirror to say like, hey, this is what I'm intentional about. It ain't gonna happen. I can tell you, Joanna, I created a vision board last year with my husband. And even though the pandemic happened, all of these things happened, I can still tell you that most of the things that were on that board came true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because why? We were super clear and intentional about our words, about what we were putting forward. And again, when you get so clear, you start to see that your brain makes choices in alignment to what it is that you're getting clear about
Yeah.
who you're becoming.
Yes. I love to say there's no secrets with what you would like and what you would desire, because when it's up here in the head, we're peekabooing and we're hiding. How can we unhide our desires? Kids don't hide their desires. I want this, and then I want this, and then I want this, and then I want this. And we're taught to be quiet because what if we don't hit it? So I've heard that from my clients. But I don't want to write it down because then if I don't hit it, then I'm going to feel badly. And in my bathroom, I have my 2020 plan. It's up, it's laminated. And then I have my vision statement. It's like, I write it in the future. So then I'm going to write it again for 2021 as if it's 2022. And so my friend, the guy, came over yesterday and he used the bathroom, and he was in there for a while, and he comes out, he's like, what is on your your glass? And I tell him, and he's like, wow. And because he was reading it, I'm like, yes, boo, you read it. You also put energy into my dreams, And I tell everybody, put it up so everyone can see it. If you're embarrassed for your plan, then people cannot add to it. Unhide your desires, unhide them.
Yeah.
I love that that brought that up. Who are you
And
becoming?
totally. And Joanna, you just made a huge point right there. That is a good example of the environment of which you live in. We are a product of our environment.
Environment always wins.
So take note. If Joanna had a friend who came over and was like, girl, what kind of garbage is on your bathroom wall? You need a new environment, boo. Because you need friends who are like, oh, wow, I was reading that. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. What is that? That's
what
it.
is exactly. Yeah. Or they're going to be like, wow, I totally see that for you. Yes. I you know what? You've inspired me. I want to go home and do mine too. And again, also giving yourself time to play, to get creative, to just dream of what you want your life to be. Because when we're kids, we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a doctor and I'm going to be a famous dog walker. And right? We had the sky is the limit when we're kids. But when we're adults, we like to be like pessimists almost. Because everybody's like, no, I'm just being real. No, baby, you're raining on your own parade every day. Dream. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? Yeah. And we need to give ourselves that space.
Space. Space is where it can happen. Yeah. I don't want to say it's not the energy of I gotta be honest. No, but I'm like, the other day it really hit me. I'm like, I'm a little afraid of 2021 or I'm sad to end this year because I enjoyed the pause. I enjoyed it. I secretly, like almost shamefully in this reality, right, was embarrassed to say when I was happy when there was another closure. Anybody else out there? Like when it was, oh, we're going to close again. Everybody's like, oh, it's so sad because the businesses. And I'm secretly like, yes, I wanted that pause, Sylvia, more and more. And I said that to my girlfriends the other day on our end of the year holiday virtual party.
Mhm.
And we're talking about how we're excited for 21 and this and that. And I said, I want to go back to March and relive that again because it was phenomenal, that pause. And so the question was, how can I keep creating that? How can I become that pause that I don't need external pauses to create that
Mm.
for me? And that was like, ooh, girl, because I needed that out. So everybody's pausing so I can pause. Because if
Mm.
everybody's going, it's going to be harder for me to choose the pause,
Totally.
right? And to say no to more things. But right now it's like my excuse card. I could play that card of, oh, whatever it may be. No, we
Totally.
can't get together because whatever. And yeah, anybody else out there that's like shameful to say that or whatever that is of that energy, I got you. And so I'm like, that's interesting to get curious of what is that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I totally agree. I totally agree because especially as women,
Hmm.
we are always looking for the permission slip of, oh, okay, so we're all taking a pause. Okay, then that means I can pause too.
Permission. We're all not going. Cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that we do need that. Because again, it's like if we're all being worker bees, then okay, the rhythm is we're all worker bees. But I think if anything, I'm interested
Hmm.
to see how 2021 looks, but how our bodies are going to react
Mm.
and kind of tap into you and say, hey, Joanna, I need a break.
Mhm.
Because we have had those pauses this year that I really think that there's going to be a lot of us, including myself, just women, everyone in general, that our bodies are going to be like, hey, remember last year when we like slowed the fuck down?
Remember the contrast. Remember that,
Exactly.
girl? Yeah.
And our bodies are going to be like, I'm going to need you to sit down.
We're so cute.
But the thing is our bodies are going to tap in and we're going to have to make the choice whether we're going to choose to listen to that
Yes.
or feel the pressures of, well, no, everybody's chipping away. I have to, and we have to remember, I don't have to work at the same speed as everybody else.
Mm.
And looking at it as a brave thing instead of a bad thing.
Mhm.
Because we always like to think, oh, if I'm not doing what everybody else is doing, it must be bad. No,
Mhm.
babe, sometimes going against the grain is the brave thing because you're doing you. And I really hope that in 2021, everybody has learned like, I'm really important because we've had to tap into ourselves so many times.
I'm really important. I know, I'm aware, Sylvia, that I've hit a whole new layer of an onion, of a step,
Mm,
of my self-discovery, of falling in love with myself. Who am I? What do I really desire? What is really required for Joanna that I thought was a different requirement? I was a zombie doesn't know they're a zombie. And I thought I was pretty aware and pretty conscious. And I'm like, whoa, and what else is possible? How much more is there? And it's the abundance. Abundance is the that and symbol. And what else? Wow, Joanna. Yeah, you're pretty conscious. You're pretty cool. And Joanna, there's more. And where am I going to be when I'm 60 years old, when I'm 70, where I'm 80? Like
mm,
I'm so excited to become that. Like you were saying, who are we becoming? And the energy of what I would like to become in a year, 10, 20 years is so in love with myself.
mm,
So uh like best friends with myself, and 2019, my, I always, I have my words, my one big push goal, etc., right, for my plan. And 2019 was to become best friends with my body. That was
mm.
the overall theme. And not just physically, as in like working out, that was a piece of it, but I mean, overall, best friends. And like you said, you make a choice and then life will just kind of guide you here. And it's 2 years later. And as I'm talking to you, what a gift that this conversation is, that it's come full circle. It's like, whoa. Yeah, that's what I'm getting right now. I'm a little speechless because I'm like, this is what it looks like to be best friends with your body. And what else is there? Like,
Mm.
Joanna, you just barely hit the surface of being best friends. And what else is possible? And how does it get better? And it's that and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Thank you
Ooh.
for saying that. I'm totally going to receive that for myself. And that I think we forget about that word a lot, Joanna, abundance. Because we think, again, like you said, like we reach the point and we're like, oh, cool, did it, got it.
Yeah.
But we forget about the and.
Yeah.
I'm going to receive that. So absolutely.
I'm glad. Like, I've been asking myself, what are my words? I always pick one big word for the next year and then I'll
Mhm.
pick three. So one and then two more, right? And for 2020, my number one word was real. I have it on my, I haven't taken it off all year. My intent bracelet. And my goal was to be real, to tell my stories, like to not hide, whatever it is, show up the way it is,
Mhm.
to be real that way. And I've been asking what the word is going to be for 2021, Sylvia. And what keeps coming up is abundant. It's the and. Because I was, for 40 something years, in my definition of abundant was money.
Mm.
And this year I
Ooh.
really got that it's all of it, girl. It's everything. It's this interview. How can it be better and better and better?
Mm.
Uh, I don't food. How could it taste better and better and better? Like that's abundance. It's the
Yes.
and.
It's just never ending. Oh, I love that.
And to me, that's what um, spirituality, religion, the Bible. I mean, just keep putting on. I think that's what the overall theme is from all these things. It's always talking about that. Yet I think we miss it. Right?
Yes.
Go for your goal, you got it, or do this, you got it, it's done. And I'm like, no, I want more. And
Mm.
we were taught to take, Mija, what you get, be appreciative. And I'm like, I'm very appreciative and I want more. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful, Sylvia, for our friendship. And I want more from it. And how does
Yeah.
it get better? Right. And I wonder what this planet would be like if we lived in that energy of
Absolutely.
appreciation and what else? But it's the
Mm.
curiosity, but I think we think the and, like, I want more is coming from, like, this scarcity and lack. That's a
Yeah.
different energy
Yes.
rather than the abundant of, "Ooh, what else is there?"
Yeah.
Right?
Totally. And I think that's the biggest part that you just said too, is the conditioning we have of just like, well, you get what you get and you don't throw fit. Right. Or, and again, but be instead of accepting and being like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm so grateful, but let's get more.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
love that, Joanna. Whoo, I
Mm.
receive all of that.
I'm so glad, and to me, it's not the words, it's the energy.
Yes.
It's the energy behind it, because we can
Yeah.
say it in a gazillion different words, it doesn't matter, but it's the energy of the and,
Yes. Look
right?
at both of our faces. When every time we're saying and, we're like,
Yeah. It was so cool because I was asking my nephew, like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And
mm,
he did the and I want this, and I want this, and I want this,
mm,
and I want this. And as he's talking, I'm on the phone and I'm like, that, that's what I want. It was his energy that I wanted. That. And it was, without any judgment, totally conscious, and more and more and more and more. And I was listening and I go, "Oh, what would it take for him to have that forever? That he doesn't lose that and energy." I
mhm.
wonder what it would take, and what a gift it was for him to say that for me and receive. And as he's talking, I'm like pulling energy. I'm like, yes, I want that and that. How can I have more of that? Right.
Oh,
And it
girl, we're
was.
gonna have to make a T-shirt and energy.
I'm taking so many notes right here. I'm drawing a little t-shirt. Yes. Because Sylvia, I think that's like the next layer. I was
It is.
listening to a podcast about how consciousness is more on this planet now, and um, conversations of this nature are more prevalent. And I really personally think it's a lot to do with Oprah. I think she really opened the door. Let's talk about that. She did. She started it. She was the first one. Super Soul Sundays here and there. It's taken a couple years, and then yoga and namaste. If you would have said namaste 30 years ago, they would have thought you were a weirdo. Now you're saying
Mhm.
it at LA Fitness. But with that, I'm like, and what's next? I think we're ready for the next layer,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think we're hungry for it.
Yeah.
We're
Like that's
hungry
where,
for it.
yeah, Sylvia, I think that's where I was like 10 years ago, where I did, all the self-development. And I'm like, okay, and what's next? I was
Mhm.
like that. And what's next? What's the next class? What's the next? I'm like, I know there's more. And when I started to learn about consciousness and this and really receiving, I was listening to a podcast this morning about gifting and receiving during the Christmas holiday. And
Mm.
true gifting and receiving, Sylvia, is when we don't know who the gifter is and who the receiver is. You have no idea. For example, I give you a present physically, but you receive it so much that now you give back to me because you're receiving it. We've all
Mm.
given a gift where somebody just can't receive it energetically.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like, yeah. And then now it's just a little dance, and we're like, or they take it, but they can't really receive it.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's just awkward. Mhm.
It's awkward. There's walls up, and yeah. But when you give a gift and that person can so receive it, and you're
Yes.
like, who just gave the gift right now? I can't even
Mm.
tell. And I think many times we're on the give and take energy. I give you something, Sylvia, and now I take. And now you give it back, and now you take. But gifting and receiving is a different energy. And even through our conversation right now, it feels more of a gifting and receiving that I could tell when I talk to somebody, and it's a give and take
Mm. Yes.
conversation.
Yes.
And you can't tell who the interviewee or interviewer is, and it's just a conversation. I think that's the next level that we're ready for.
Yeah.
You say this, now I say this. Like that's kind of getting a little limited, so
Yes.
to speak. We cap out.
Totally. No, I really, man, you really hit it. You really hit it. We're ready for that, especially after this year. We've all learned how to communicate or over communicate
Mm.
because of this space in between all of us.
Is the over communicate, you think, kind of the energy of like force it down your throat?
Over communicate because, yes, in some work environments, for a lot of us, we've had to over communicate because people aren't physically seeing us.
It's like, listen to me, that kind of energy. Like, why don't you get me energy? So you're over
Mhm.
communicating.
Over communicating, yes.
Yeah.
Also, because of the space, yeah, not feeling heard. Exactly what you said. You feel not heard because their presence isn't physically there.
Mhm.
So I think like you said, we're in a space now of wanting to have that give and take, but the real kind, the actual gift
Yeah.
and receive
Giving and
kind.
receiving. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. What else is possible for receiving? Like when you
Mm.
really receive. Um,
And
yeah.
my thing with receiving, though, is that we all like to say, we all like to give. But the other piece of that when it comes to communication is, am I listening to respond or am I listening to understand? That's a big piece of it too.
Mhm.
Which is why sometimes when we get in those situations of like when you give something to someone, it feels kind of awkward because they don't have the response ready, or they didn't understand where you were coming from. So it's always so weird and awkward.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of just taking it for what it is and understanding where that person is coming from and validating that, that's where that energy needs to be. Like you said, it's so obvious. We can always feel when it feels funky.
Yeah.
So I
I
love
could feel,
that, Anna.
yeah, when I'm not able, or I guess that's the best word I can use, to receive whatever, a compliment, you name it. And it's not even, we think receiving means like a gift or something. What if it's just receiving anything, like literally anything, just receiving all of life, receiving a tree. A tree is just there and like receiving it, receiving the sun, receiving. I can go on and on of what can we receive. I
Yes.
think a lot of time we think receive means gifts.
Yeah.
And which it is, a tree sitting there is a gift, but you get what I mean, right?
Totally.
And, what else is like possible for us to like really, really, truly receive? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, Sylvia, this is such a great conversation.
Yeah.
Where can everybody find you?
Thank you so much, Joanna. Of course, I always feel like this was so great when we get together. But everyone can follow me on Instagram at the Sylvia Brands. And my website is also www.blossominggems.com, which is the name of my business for life and mindset coaching. And like I said earlier, I am looking to do a vision board workshop. The date is tentative, but it'll be up soon. So if you're following me, you'll get all of the details on that. But again, Joanna, thank you so much for your time. I feel like even this conversation got me like, oh, I got a couple things to add on my board.
For me too. What a gift. Yeah, I'm so incredibly grateful. Your vision board, is that party virtual?
Yes, it will be virtual.
Okay, fun. That sounds great. Yeah, keep me posted on that.
Okay.
And it was really, really such a contribution, this conversation, and I think very required for me. And I wonder for you too, and I wonder everybody listening, if there's one person out there that shifted even 1 degree from this.
Yeah.
How
No,
cool
friend,
is that?
thank you so much. Thank you so much for holding space for me. I really appreciate you. Air hugs.
Air hugs. Yeah. And when are you due?
In February, early February.
Okay, so we got a little time. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is your first or second?
This
Chuck?
is my first.
First. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Wow. I'm so grateful. I'm so glad that I met you, and you and
Me
I
too.
have a true vibe. And remember, gals, and for our gentlemen, we love you, and always with love and receiving to get back up.